Why, hello there. This is it's a fun cosplay. It's simple, but fun. It's Pyramid Head. As you could not probably tell. I'd have to store this thing off screen. The visibility is actually very good. I wish that I had made this helmet piece. So, a quick rundown basically is this is partially made, partially bought. I bought this. Everything else I have made, or, just previously had. I think we're going to cover this first because, well, it's the most important. And also, I want to give credit. I'll have to go back into my receipts and link the individual who I purchased this from. But I want to give them credit for this. And a thank you. I don't know how well the camera will show this, how it will capture, but this is made actually of foam poster board, foam board that you would use for like a school project. And I don't know why I didn't think of that. I had been racking my brains thinking of material, but for some reason this never occurred to me. Outside of that, the mesh for the see-through windows here, this is actually something I've seen used in kitchen shelves and in kitchen drawers. You cut a sheet of it out and you use it so that things don't slide around. It's basically a non-stick padding for shelves and drawers and stuff. At least that's what I've seen it used for. Which, again, works perfectly. Because the perforation is just big enough that you can see pretty well through it. The knobs on here are actually like bottle caps. These look like they came from soda bottles. These bigger ones look like they came from maybe like a milk jug or something, a bit wider. So again, I don't know how I didn't think of that. It's great. Now through all of it, there's this sort of burnt orange, crimson-y sort of paint, right? Streaked on there to give it a sort of rust look. And I'm proud to say I was able to replicate it, because along the bottom here, the way they got this put together is that inside here, there's Velcro that goes across, but on the bottom is like a sticky part of the Velcro that you're supposed to just stick on. For both of these seams, for putting it together, I super glued everything so it's more sturdy and permanent. But along the bottom here, there's no paint, obviously, because that's the sticky adhesive side. And it looked a bit odd to just have a plain bold black strip down the bottom. It sort of interrupted the look of the piece. So I was able to take, because this orangey rust color is not actually a regular burnt orange, at least from what I could find shopping around, nothing I physically had available. So what I had to do is I took a pre-existing sort of burnt orange paint, mixed it with a bit of red, a darker red, like a real crimson, almost maroon, and I was able to mix it just right, and you cannot tell the difference. Literally. You can't tell that that's paint I added later, which I am so proud of. But yeah, that's about it. I do plan on in the future adding like little pipes on the front, just kind of modifying and adding onto it in the future. I will say, I did some test photos. I'd have to find those. But when wearing this, you can still see my face through it, my pale vampire skin. To remedy that, I can't seem to find it on me, but basically get like a morph suit, like the mask, just the head part, right? Get a black one and wear that, and it will obscure, and you'll blend right in with the interior of the helmet. Again, simple fix. It's even better because I'm wearing glasses and it kind of keeps the tight-fitting mask off my eyes, and so I can see pretty well. So we're going to set that aside. More importantly is the tunic, the shirt. Where do I start with this? I started with a t-shirt, of course, as just trying to get the proper shape of the sleeves and of the collar. But that is not actually what I used physically to make this. That was more of just a template. I traced the t-shirt onto a large square of cloth. From there I cut out multiple, there's 1, 2, 3 sections. Yeah, 3 sections that I then stitched together. From there, and when I say stitch, it's a very crude stitching, mind you. I don't really know sewing or anything. And then I did the same at the top. But once I had all of this cut out to long lengths and stitched together, and even glued together in some spots, because I don't like taking those chances. Because what I had to then do is create a little bit of a concoction. Now, what you may have available is probably going to differ from what I have available to the next person, so your results may vary. But the general idea is you want to take some water, you want to mix in some instant coffee, perhaps even throw in some tea, and then, if you're feeling particularly brave, a splash of food coloring here and there. And when I say that, take, the 2 colors and mix them together. Again, we're talking singular drops, because a little goes a long way. And you could even take, it's in a bottle back there, but you could take watered down acrylic paint, dribble a bit in there as well. Basically, you have this sort of homemade dye concoction, and you will bring that to a simmer. Please ventilate whatever room you're doing this in, because it does become quite pungent. I wouldn't say toxic necessarily, but very pungent. Now, because of the red string that I had, again, you don't have to use red, you can use whatever, but it's just what I had on hand. Because of the red string, as well as, it turns out, a bit of the fruits and other things in the tea that I had, it came out with a slight pink tint, but that actually works in favor of a strange sort of blood stain. Again, the camera probably won't pick it up that well, but it's quite impressive, actually, how it came out. What you're going to want to do is have that simmering, have this soaking, right, on a low to medium heat for literally about 20 to 30 minutes, depending on how much you want it to really stain and soak in. I wouldn't go much longer than that, because then if you got to think about the integrity of the actual tunic. And when it comes out, you're probably going to have a lot of frayed edges, right? You're going to have loose little strings coming off where you cut. I had a lot of that, so you're going to just have to trim off that excess, really clean it up a little bit. You could hit it with some cold water. You can let it dry. Hang it up to dry, preferably outside, or if you have an extra room, like a garage or something, right? So let that air dry. Once you have it air dried, what I did is I took some spray paint, and from a distance, very lightly, I would press as I go along, right? Quick spurts. And just to add a sort of splash effect in some, a bit of dirt type stuff along the front and the back. I think I even did that with a bit of red, again, to try to give the illusion of a blood splatter. really just doctor it up how you see fit, you know, add your own flair to it. And that basically does it for the structure of the tunic. The way I have it attached is I just have it folded, and along here I have pieces of Velcro. I have the adhesive side, kind of the same stuff that was used in that mask. Just put those together. Though, admittedly, I might not want to use industrial strength Velcro next time, because taking this apart is quite the task. It's industrial strength. Use something that's a bit more, you know, meant for clothing, I guess you could say. Don't do what I did. Don't go out and use thick industrial strength strips. It'll hold, but you know, you don't want to tear your shirt when trying to take it off. As for everything else, I just have a pair of old work pants and a pair of snowshoes. You could, yeah, literally any sort of tan, dark brown pants, any black or brown work shoes, hiking boots, you know, that type of thing. That goes pretty well. I have one more item. Gloves. One moment. The gloves, you can really use any type of brown leather glove, to be honest. You know, these are actually the same ones that I used in my Sarah's Victoria cosplay. Compared to the other ones, this had the best shade option as well as overall shape. The other ones I had were either black, or they were too long, or too thick, and I couldn't properly bend my fingers and grasp things. Now, onto I would say the second most important thing, and also the one that was the most fun, because it's actually something I made similar to this. This was just a pain because of all the sewing. This was actually fun because this is my element. So, I have 10mm EVA foam sheets, right? It took about 4 layers to make this, because you have to keep in mind, this is extremely long. Like, this is, let me actually do a measurement on this. I think it's about 6 foot, 7 foot? I forgot how long I made this. It's almost been 6 months since I made this. Time flies. Really is. Come on. Yeah. 6 foot is 7 feet. So yeah, it's a 7 foot knife, and I'm only what, 5'6"? Something like that. Point is, it's got weight to it, but it's not terrible. But yeah, it took 4 layers of 10mm foam and one big bamboo rod. I have a bunch of them hanging up behind the camera right now. I bought a big pack of these, they're 6 foot rods from Home Depot. I bought them about a year or 2 ago. But they've come handy a few times. But the reason that I liked this project, it's going to be very important, the things I learned here, for the future. Because in the future I plan on making the Dragon Slayer sword. Oh, that's going to be so much fun. I tried once, failed miserably, and well, I can tell you right now, this is the way to go. Because what I did is in the 2 middle layers, I basically traced the bamboo rod and then cut that out. From there, I then placed the bamboo rod between the outer layers and then into the the central layer. So it's basically, I created like a custom fitting for the rod to go in, you know. From there, each layer on both sides, I put contact cement, right? Contact cement, and just tack them, tack them together like I'm welding it. Put them together, and then put weight, let it sit for like 2 hours, and then repeat the process slowly. Once I had everything glued together, that's when I basically went around, I sanded and trimmed everything down so that, because they were all different, you know, each of these were kind of different measurements, because my cutting was not exact, but I shaved it all down to be more precise. And even here, the final shape, it's not a perfect straight line, but then again, this is a very crude, massive blade. I don't think Pyramid Head would care about how precise it is. He would only care about how well it can cut people in half, you know? And plus the natural look of the wood is very nice. The very same thing that I did on the DIY, the Lark torch, right? When I explained on the handle how I had taken the angle grinder, not the angle grinder, the Dremel tool. I took the Dremel tool with like a little rotary saw bit and went back and forth, kind of skipping it and cutting it into the wood. That creates this sort of grain texture along the length of it. Sure, the bamboo already has that linear look, but I wanted to kind of make it look a bit more like a stereotypical wooden branch type thing. I then cut a bit more, notched into this end here to make it look like it was old and worn, and kind of flaring. So it gave it a very nice natural look, and then I stained it. Sealed off the gap with a bit of extra glue. Gave that a nice bevel. And then painted it. Had it all painted up with a mixture of antique pewter, silver, you know, a bunch of different metal spray paint shades. Nothing glossy. Glossy kills the whole vibe of this. The most I would go is like matte, you know. From there, after, because it took quite a few coats to actually get a solid color, because it kept soaking in. But once that was done, I then splashed it with, again, some black sealant. The sealant, instead of paint, is important because it has a bit more of a thicker rubber, you know, it's like a rubber sealant. It has a texture to it. And I wanted it to look like, you know, like mud or just some gunk had, you know, built up and splashed on here over time. And then I gave it some streaks of red paint as well as, again, red sealant, which actually is plastic dip. Plastic dip, the spray cans of that. I streaked it across the front, and I focused it in a particular area right here, as if that's kind of like where he keeps striking people, you know? So that's like the main hit zone on the blade. And I think it came up pretty well. Dragging this around with Con like this, you know, it was fun. There was a couple other people there dressed as Pyramid Head. It was nice. It was real nice to just kind of drag this thing around, which actually just made it easier, you know what I mean? I don't have to actually carry it. I can just drag it around, and technically it's right, you know? He's been known to drag this behemoth around from time to time. So yeah, I like this one. And like I said, I do plan on taking these techniques and applying them again in the future. I don't think I'm going to be doing a Guts cosplay. The armor is beyond me for now. But most certainly I'll be trying to make the sword, which is gonna be cool. I've seen some people make actual metal, like actual sword, like things that you could use in battle. That's crazy. I don't know. That's actual like blacksmithing a massive sword is insane. But anyway, I do thank you for joining me. I do hope you enjoyed. And I hope to see you in the next one. Until then, peace.